People are gathering in the streets of Madrid to protest tough austerity cuts as the country struggles with huge debt. There are fears that Spain could be the next of the Eurozone's crisis-hit economies forced to accept a survival package. But it could be too big to be bailed out. Let's cross live now to our correspondent, Tessa Austerity, who's in the Spanish capital for us. Tessa, looks like a fairly good turnout behind you on the street there. Tell us what's happening now.
Yes, well, the protest has been organized just a couple of weeks ago when the government announced new austerity plans. So this has been planned for a while. Now people are just starting to gather for the protests. Now, as we know, they are really here to show their discontent. This is the second round of austerity measures after the 15 billion euro package passed in May of this year. And one of the key things that they are against is the fact that a special subsidy of 426 euros for people whose jobless benefits have run out will not be continued starting February. So people are saying for those without jobs, without any more benefits, now they're going to stop having subsidies. Basically, they will have no source of income, nothing at all. And this is not the first protest against the austerity measures. A few hours after it was announced, air traffic controllers staged a massive walkout, and this caused about 200,000 people to be stranded in Spain. And actually, the government did issue an emergency decree stating that the police can arrest any air traffic controller that refuses to work, and this decree has not been seen since military rule, and it has been extended recently until the 15th of January. So the government is very aware of the chaos and the discontent that the new measures are causing among the Spanish population.
Well, you nailed it. I mean, we're talking chaos and discontent. There's been a lot of austerity anger just all across Europe over the past several months. Tell me this, though. The EU summit in Brussels has just finished and a new bailout fund has been agreed upon. So EU leaders, they are working to revive the Eurozone's economy, aren't they?
Yes, well, let's just look at what they had agreed upon, what they had come up with. Basically, they did reiterate their commitment to ensuring that the economies in the European Union, especially the Eurozone, to keep them afloat, to help each other, to come out with a comprehensive, a permanent rescue package mechanism to replace the 440 billion euro package that they had scrambled together to bail out Greece, as well as the 750 billion EU IMF bailout loan facility, which is a temporary one. So they want to come up with a permanent fund. Now, Germany has been making a strong push to ensure that there are provisions attached to this fund to make sure that this is only a last resort available to countries who may need it in the future as a last resort, and that conditions attached to it are ironclad. Now, there are a lot of worries that Spain and Portugal are countries, very big countries with big economies, especially Spain, that may be following in the footsteps of countries that have needed bailout. So this is the worry that people here are feeling right now. That's why the government here in Spain are passing the austerity measures. Now, let's remember that given these austerity measures that have already been implemented, Spain still has about 60 billion euros worth of debt to refinance early next year. So that's why Moody's, the rating agency, has downgraded Spain's sovereign debt rating, because they foresee the country's vulnerability to even more debt refinancing that they may not be able to refinance next year. So as the governments are working together, are struggling to put together some sort of solution, come up with some sort of solution, it's the people, the ordinary people, who are really suffering from the effects of the austerity measures passed. Now let's look at how the Spanish people are dealing with it.
It's early morning, and for the people waiting at this community center, it's yet another day of survival. Andres used to be a regular client of the center. Now he's a volunteer, helping those whose dire situations he knows only too well.
I've always been a plumber, but now I'm unemployed. Here in Madrid, it's the only place where I can work, help people, and help myself. I don't receive any help from the state, no social benefits, nothing.
The collapse of the global financial system, Europe's debt crisis, and Spain's recent property crash have hammered the Spanish economy, with new austerity measures making life even harder.
Well, this means misery for many families. I'm not only financial misery, I'm talking about personal, psychological, family misery. So these things have consequences on people.
In one day, about 180 people visit the center for a warm meal, for second-hand clothes, or for a few hours of shelter. But at the end of each day, they all have to go back to their harsh realities. And for some, this reality is literally just around the corner.
Andres himself lived on the streets for a year.
It's very difficult. The streets are cold and you could run into the police or municipal authorities. There's nothing to do there. There's no help and no shelter.
The new austerity plan will see cuts to subsidies for the jobless, which could hurt some 5 million out of work.
With almost a 21% of unemployment rate here, the personal living, daily life is becoming very difficult for a lot of people. Also for the people who maintains the employment, they feel they have to reduce all their spendings.
As ordinary people suffer, some European politicians say the euro is to blame and is doomed.
A common currency is not realistic. You can only do the other alternative, which is to bring back the national currencies of these countries, simply realizing that these countries do want to maintain their independence on the economical policy, their budget policy, and therefore they must have their own currency.
But leaders of the 27 member nations of the European Union are sticking to their guns, showing a united front in tackling the crisis and safeguarding the beleaguered currency with a permanent bailout strategy for countries in trouble. Far from the plush corridors of power, the reality of hard times in Europe. And when all else fails, there's always that option of taking to the streets, whether or not their voices will be heard.
So as we've seen, Spain's unemployment rate is really very high. It's actually the highest in the Eurozone. So again, the people are just struggling to make ends meet. Now, it's Christmas here. They're trying to do some Christmas shopping, but the Spaniards are spending a lot less this year.
All right, so Greece, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Ireland. 2010, Tessa, has been a chaotic year for austerity anger indeed. RT's Tessa Arcilia reporting live in Madrid. Thank you.